The most famous sandwich in the world is probably the idiot sandwich.
What are you?
An idiot sandwich.
And then in 2021, Gordon made himself one. I saw a couple weeks ago, Joshua Wiseman did a sandwich tour all over the country. And since then, every night I think about him. I mean his food. I don't have that type of budget, so today we'll try to make some of these iconic American sandwiches at home. All the recipes I'm using are the most viewed ones on the internet, because as always, more views means better quality. The first recipe has got to be the PB&J. There's nothing more American than extremely unbalanced dessert for lunch. I didn't even get PB&J for high school. I was always given a tuna wrap. That's why nobody wanted to sit with me. But the real catch of this recipe is that I'm making homemade jam with a pound of strawberries and 12 ounces of sugar and a splash of vinegar because I don't have lemon. We're gonna first let the sugar sit with the fruit in the pan for about 8 minutes. This process is called macerate. And then we'll put it on the stove on medium heat and slowly let it reduce to a syrup. I don't have a masher because I don't believe in single-purpose kitchen tools. Plus I have the best masher of all time, the Ligma fork. You might have noticed that you've been seeing it less lately. That's because I think it's breaking. But once it's spitting out white bubbles on top, it's done, and we'll pour it into a mason jar. We'll set it aside and let it cool for now. I've never made peanut butter, but I assume it's just blended up peanuts. I have a container of these planters, so I'm just pouring into a food processor. And to make the nuts more plentiful, I'm gonna add a fistful of hazelnut and a squeeze of honey. I'll teach you 2 methods of buttering your nut. The first one is aggressively pulsing back and forth. I named it beating to the beat. And the second method is when you tilt it a little bit, the centripetal force of the blade is gonna swing itself back and forth. I call it the motion of the ocean. I prefer this method because you do less work, and it's pretty bad at any point it gets dry, so you gotta oil it up. Also, maple syrup can enhance the experience as well. Something doesn't look right here. Why is it so granular like that? Maybe because my food processor is not powerful. I guess we just have to deal with it. Kinda looks like slushy. Now we got the 2 most important components, homemade. Let's start assembling it. We got the unevenly sliced brioche. I heard that the best ones have peanut butter on both sides and jam stuffed in the middle. So for the second piece of bread, I'm gonna use my roommate's peanut butter. I don't think he'll notice. Okay, it's a new jar, so he'll definitely notice. But I'ma just use a little bit since I'm already committed. Oh, that's the good stuff. It spreads so much better than the stuff I just made. Now I'll teach you a smart trick to use your roommate's stuff in secret. So we'll just take a little bit of the granular peanut slushy thing and put it into the jar. Press it down a little bit and close the lid with the paper on top. Now it seems like an appropriate time to play that trending TikTok sound.
Nobody's gonna know. They're gonna know. How would they know?
I think I sealed the mason jar too early. It's pretty hard to open. I don't want to get sticky, so I'm gonna try my best to not get the jam everywhere. Well, that was pretty easy. That just looks so much better than the store-bought ones. Can't say the same thing about the peanut butter though. Just close it together. I'm gonna rub it a little bit so the jam gets into the corners. And you have to toast it for it to be good. My butter seems to have some type of toxic waste on it. Let's put a little pressure on it. Okay, it ain't ready. I just realized the sound travels slower than the speed of light with this camera. You see what I'm talking about? It's kind of delayed. Let's do a showcase of the cross section, looking super gourmet. Besides the bread, I made everything else. We'll make our own bread a little later. Let's give it a taste and rate it 1 through 10. It tastes like a fancy Uncrustable, which is my favorite snack. Super loaded, I'm gonna give it an 8.5 out of 10. The next category is grilled cheese. And of course, the most viewed grilled cheese recipe on the internet is by Chef Tyler. As soon as you see this thumbnail, you think to yourself, I have got to try it.
I present to you the world's thickest grilled cheese sandwich. Would you look at that?
I would, and I can't stop looking at it. That's the only type of cheese pull that we allow on this channel. If only Michelangelo was as talented as Chef Tyler, maybe David wouldn't have the envy. I was debating between this one and the Gordon Ramsay one, but I feel like so many people made fun of him, and he did a redemption. So we shouldn't grill his ass anymore. Speaking of which, this is ready to be grilled. First we'll spread on some I Give a Second Chance to QP mayo. This looks not family friendly. 2 slices of monster cheese, put on a pan with some butter till golden brown. The cheese didn't melt, so we're gonna have to have a little assistance from the blowtorch. The best side, we can't really toast it in the pan, so we're gonna give it the same treatment. This is such a creative recipe. How did Tyler just pull it out of his ass like that? Taste, questionable, but this is definitely the best cake we've made on this channel. We're on our way to get some meatball sub, a deli in the West Village. I live on the Lower East Side, so I keep forgetting how nice and fancy other parts of the city are. Like everybody just enjoying their day hanging outside. They're really popular in this neighborhood. But here's the catch. This sub is $12, but if you want these 2 slices of cheese, it's $2 extra. Who gets a meatball sub with no cheese? You know what I mean? The craziest part is an extra napkin costs $1. I always tip if I'm given the option to, but it's so difficult after seeing the napkin charge. The marinara sauce smells like instant ramen seasoning, like the Indomie one. Flavors are good, but the balls are cold. The bread's so stale, it tastes like it spent the night in my grandma's basement. I'm not gonna rate it because I feel like they're having an off day, so it's not fair. But these meat and vegetables have been sitting out for 30 minutes. Now I'm concerned for my health. Next comes the chili cheesesteak. Hands down the best American sandwich. We're using a recipe from Josh Ross, starting with the hoagie bread, which is what's classically served on. Generally harder than a sub and is usually cold, but Papa's recipe is really European. It's more similar to a baguette, you'll see what I mean. So half the recipe is 1.5 grams of yeast and 294 grams of water. The water should be around body temperature when you have a fever. 475 grams of bread flour. I don't have that, so I'm using all-purpose. When it's named all-purpose, I gotta use it for all purposes. It's like Head and Shoulders. It's even got the same color theme going on. 10 grams of salt and 6 grams of sugar. 25 grams of extra virgin olive oil. I didn't realize mine is garlic flavored, so we're just gonna have to deal with it. We'll dump the dry ingredients in, whisking the olive oil, and then dumping all the yeast water. You gotta get all up in there in that dough. It's gonna take us a long time to knead. I'm not gonna use a stand mixer because I don't believe in unnecessary kitchen tools. Cover and rest for 15. Now it should be a little more pliable. We'll just take it out and slap it onto the work surface and fold it over. They call it the slap and fold. It's supposed to help with gluten development. You see how smooth it is now? It's pretty magical. We'll cover it back up for another 15. Finally, we'll cover it with a bowl for about an hour. Now, here's where I'm gonna deviate from the recipe. I'm told to divide it into 400-gram pieces, put it in an oiled up container, and ferment it for 3 days. I don't really have time for that, so I'm just gonna let one ball ferment for 3 days, and the other one in room temperature for 3 hours. After 3 hours, it should be really easy to work with now. We'll push it down a little bit and fold it from one end to the other, and do it again. This is how we turn the dough into a sandwich shape. We'll pinch down the ends and then sharpen the edges a little bit. Doesn't really look like hoagie bread at all. It's literally a baguette. We're supposed to roll it in sesame. I'm just gonna sprinkle on top. Cover the dough again and let it rest for 2 hours. This is taking a whole day. I'm gonna put this somewhere else. Finally comes the time to bake. We're sprinkling the peeler with rice flour because apparently it's the best one for non-sticking. We'll roll the dough on there as gently as possible. And at this point, I forgot to mention, your oven should be preheating at 450 or as high as possible for about an hour. We'll spray it intermittently for 3 times every 2 to 3 minutes in the beginning to get it to have a better crust. Also, I totally forgot to score it before it cooks. A little too much rice flour, I think. We'll just shake it off and let it cool on the side while we prepare the cheesesteak part. What is this, you ask? It's my deli slicer. I was super into wholesale cured meat back in 2022, so I got this on Amazon. The machine's pretty small, so I had to cut this New York strip in half. We're aiming for about 1/8 of an inch. This slicer actually appeared in one of my first videos ever on this channel. I'm glad you guys never saw it. We don't have a griddle, so we're using the biggest stainless steel pan and letting the meat sit on there for a really long time to develop color. Once the onions are mixed in, you can turn off the heat now. We don't want to overcook the meat. This is the last little bit of the Swiss never-ending raclette, but don't worry, we're gonna get more very soon. On top of that, we're gonna put in 2 slices of Monster for the cheese pull, again with the help of the blowtorch. This is freshly baked bread. I feel like we shouldn't toast it. The inside's actually really well cooked. Could be a little more bubbles. This is my first time making fresh bread. Are you guys proud of me? Okay, let's get this thing on there. I'm so excited for this part. Sorry for the humming. It's actually the theme from Rick and Morty. Look at this. I can't believe I actually did it. I was fully expecting a failure. Okay, let's give it a taste and rate it 1 through 10. What is better than freshly baked bread? Freshly baked bread loaded with steak and cheese. I've been told that the best cheesecake only has the cheese whiz stuff on top of the beef, but the feet smell of the raclette takes it to another level. Not because I'm into it or anything. This is so extremely rich in texture and flavor. Doesn't get better than this. I'm gonna put a little bit of mustard on it though. I feel like it needs some type of acidity. Or pickles. If you're from Philly, let me know in the comments if you lost respect for me. Maybe you already did a long time ago, but it's so hard to care when you're mouth full of cheese. This is the best I've ever performed with this much meat in my life, so I'm gonna give it a 9.98. You guys know about my obsession with the southern culture, so our next recipe is gonna be a po' boy. It's pretty much just a lettuce tomato wrap with fried oysters, but you can do a shrimp too. I kinda exhausted myself with all the effort I put into the chili feast gauge, so this one I'm gonna make it as easy for myself as possible. I'm gonna just air fry these breaded shrimp while cutting tomato slices. I forgot to buy bread for this, so I'm gonna just scoop out the inside of the Philly cheesesteak and use it as the po' boy bread. Bread. Spicy mayo on both sides. We already got some on there, so we're just gonna layer in the lettuce and tomatoes. I just realized these shrimps have tails on them, so we're gonna remove it. Try not to remove the whole body from the crust. And just stuff everything in there, close it, and it's done. So steamy. Let's give it a taste. If I didn't just have one of the best sandwiches of all time, I would be pretty impressed right now. But what makes this sandwich really great is the bread. So I guess it got carried over from the last dish. But considering how easy it was, I'm gonna give it a 7.5. What is more New York than pastrami on rye? I've been here for 2 years now, never visited Cats. I live pretty close actually. They got famous through this scene.
Yes! Yes! Yes!
I'll have what she's having.
The line always goes around the block. There's never a time where you can just walk in. I found this footage online. This is what they specialize in, hot pastrami. Usually people just ask them on a piece of bread and eat it like that. This video I took on my phone. Look how many people there are. My first time having the Reuben sandwich here. Like my last birthday, the sandwich is loaded with meat. The Reuben is a thick layer of pastrami with sauerkraut, cheese, and Big Mac sauce. And this one is a smoked beef tongue sandwich my roommate got because he's insane. So the difference between this and the Texas barbecue we had a few weeks ago is that this is cured, marinated, smoked, and then steamed. And the black outer layer is peppercorn, whereas the Texas one is bark. Woof woof. This is what it looks like after I took a bite. And this is what my roommate did to it. Looks like he had sex with it. These greener pickles are so bad. I don't understand the appeal. Let's get the tongue sandwich.
You can tell the tongue ones because they more mustard.
Oh my god, that is a lot of tongue. Kind of like my first kiss.
Picture perfect, you don't need no filter.
Overall, a great first visit. The wait is shorter than I expected, and the Reuben is a solid 9 out of 10. Our last recipe is a 3-layered sandwich called the Monte Cristo. I think this is what the French toast is supposed to be, and we're using a recipe from Snoop Dogg's cookbook. It said 3 pieces of bread, 2 with mustard and 1 with mayo. This way we can spread it evenly without dirtying any additional utensil. The mustard one is going to be on the side and the mayo is going to be in the middle. On each piece, 2 slices of ham and a slice of cheese. I'm using Monster again. Why do they have to make the ham pieces so big? I don't know how to put it in a proportional way. Like, you see, these cheeses fit perfectly. In the process of layering everything up, I noticed the problem. If there are 3 pieces of bread and all 3 of them have toppings on it, then we need a 4th piece of bread to close it up. But the recipe didn't specify which topping faces who. So the only way this could work is having the top or bottom layer really thick. Not the type of thick with 2 C's we made before, but it's pretty impressive. Let's see if the Monte Cristo can handle the pressure from my meat press. I just forgot the most important part of the sandwich. Like I mentioned before, this is like a French toast. That's because after stuffing all the ham and cheese in it, we're supposed to dip it in the egg, milk, and sugar mixture, and then pan fry the whole sandwich in butter like what you do to French toast. What is up with the exposure? If you're like a camera person, could you please tell me? The footage is blinding me over here. Wow, first time in this video I didn't burn this bread. I didn't need to be careful either, because we're about to cover the entire top with powdered sugar.
I can feel my face when I'm with you.
Okay, it looks like unfortunately the bread in the center, along with the rest of the ingredients around it, did not get cooked at all. I think what I should have done is sear it on all sides till the color's right, put a press on there and throw it into the oven. But the sides are looking pretty good. With the powdered sugar and the ham sticking out is making me a little concerned, so let's get to the tasting fast. Is this what Snoop Dogg intended it for? You can eat a ham and cheese and sniff white powder. If you ever eat this sandwich, don't breathe heavily while chomping it down. But overall, I'm personally a fan of the sweet and savory thing we got going on here. It's a unique way of eating ham and cheese if you're getting bored of them. It doesn't taste really good here. I'm gonna give it a 5. But I feel like if I cook it right, it can easily get up to an 8.5. Anyways, hope you liked some of these. Sandwiches are really a testament to everybody's creativity. Speaking of which, remember when I asked you guys what you thought of the idea of me testing out YouTubers' cookbooks? Well, it's definitely happening. I'm excited. We're gonna learn a lot. So let me know your favorite cooking YouTube. Let me know your second favorite cooking YouTuber and I'll go acquire their paperback. Alright, thank you.